Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time tuning in, my name is Adrielle and I'm currently narrating a story of my life dating back from January 2016. In the previous episode, I narrated October 2022, but there were certain things I forgot to mention. So in this episode, I'm going to talk about all the things I forgot to mention in the month of October and things I forgot to mention from previous months as well. So here it goes. So the first thing I forgot to mention was that there was a day in October. I want to say this was like around the 23rd or the 24th of October. I remember just laying in bed. I think I had just did devotion or maybe before devotion. But I was just thinking about the whole address situation with Brandon and Caitlin. I'm like, man, they were constantly moving. It just seemed odd to me. Now, here's one thing that I was able to notice that morning was that I remember thinking to myself, like, how come every time I check the address, all the times I did check the address at that time, Caitlin's last name will pop up as Caitlin Green, not Caitlin Moore. The only time Caitlin's last name popped up as Caitlin Green was Instagram. So social media. But all the times I check the address, y'all, her last name will pop up as Caitlin Green. So I started thinking to myself, wait, what if Brandon and Caitlin are not married? Then I'm like, no, that's not possible because Caitlin wanted a marriage from Brandon. That was the whole reason why she tried to pin Lily on Brandon. Like Lily, to be honest, y'all, Lily was a pawn in this whole thing. And also BB as well. So I couldn't see Brandon and Caitlin being together and she be cool with them not being married. And also, too, you got to remember, Caitlin had a post where she talked about Lily walking down her graduation, and it was so great to hear them call her Lily Moore. So I said, there's no way that Lily's last name will be Moore, BB's last name will be Moore, and Caitlin's last name will not be Moore. I don't think Caitlin would let that fly. But y'all, the thought of Brandon and Caitlin not actually being married was ringing in my head. So I said, you know what, Lord, confirm it to me. Because at this time, y'all, I was really discerning things, getting revelations. I didn't want to insert my own thoughts into the discernment that the Lord was giving me. So I said to God, I think this was like around the 24th or 25th of October, that, Lord, I'm going to give you 3 days. If Brandon and Caitlin are not married, please show me something about paternity fraud on YouTube. Something like that. Show me something about paternity fraud, or show me something of a woman telling a man that she's not the father of her child. So that happened. I said 3 days. That happened. I'm waiting for those 3 days. I didn't get any sign from a woman talking about a man not being the father of her child or anything about paternity. So I took that as, okay, Brandon and Caitlin are married. So what I was thinking was just in my head. Now, I want y'all to remember this because it comes back later on in the story. So that was the first thing I forgot to mention in the month of October. Now, the second thing I forgot to mention was a dream that I had. Now, in this dream, I was in an acting class. It was me and a whole bunch of people. The next thing you know, Denzel Washington and Michael B. Jordan come into the class. And in the dream, Denzel Washington was the professor. Denzel was the professor. Denzel Washington was a professor. And Michael B. Jordan, he sat right next to me. Now, in the dream, I felt like he sat right next to me because he knew I was from New Jersey. That was what I was thinking about in the dream. So maybe he feels comfortable sitting next to me because we're both from New Jersey. So he sits next to me, but y'all, Michael B. Jordan's face was like, he had this stern look on his face. And I couldn't understand why. So it's me, Michael B. Jordan, a bunch of other people, and Denzel Washington is teaching the class. He says, okay, you guys, I'm going to teach you the methods or the fundamentals of acting. So he does this whole spiel about acting. The next thing you know, he tells people that, okay, get in a group of two. So get in a pair and act out a demonstration. So there was like two people that will come to the middle of the class and they will basically improv and just come up with some scenario and act it out. So after each pair was done, like everybody will clap for people, after the demonstration. Now, I was the only person in the class that did not act. I did not pair up with anybody. I did not act. So the last pair that came out and did their demonstration, we clapped for them. And then Denzel was like, okay, you guys, see you next week or whatever. So I'm sitting in my chair. Michael B. Jordan's sitting next to me. And like I said, he had this stern look on his face. So I remember Michael B. Jordan saying this out loud. He said, you see, everything was for social media. And while he said that, y'all, he was looking straight ahead. I immediately turned to Michael B. Jordan and I knew he was referring to Brandon and Caitlin. So I'm going to just give you the interpretation of the dream, y'all. Basically, that dream was a whole acting class. We know that acting is not real. It's fake. So that was the Lord's way of letting me know that the whole acting class, it was symbolic for social media. The acting class was symbolic for social media, and the people in the class, they were all symbolic for characters. So when Michael B. Jordan said, you see, it was all for social media, and I knew immediately he was talking about Brandon and Caitlin, that was God's way of letting me know that Brandon and Caitlin are playing characters on social media. Whatever they're portraying on their pages, it's not real. The marriage, the whole business, everything that they were portraying on social media, it wasn't real. They were playing a character. Brandon was playing a character. Caitlin was playing a character, right? So that was a dream I forgot to mention. The third thing I forgot to mention, it was actually something I observed while watching Brandon and Caitlin's live. While I was watching their live, I paid close attention to Brandon's body language, y'all. Paid close attention, and I noticed that I was like, yo, these two have no chemistry. Even the times where Caitlin was like putting her hand on his chest, kissing him, it seemed like Brandon allowed her to do it, but in actuality, it was like, I can see that his body was rejecting her. Like, I can tell there was no chemistry. That's why I'll basically say I could tell there was no chemistry, and I felt like whatever Caitlin was trying to portray on the live, it was forced. She tried to make it seem like they were just so connected and so bonded, but I can really tell Brandon's body was rejecting her. So that was something I observed. And then the last thing I forgot to mention, I hope this is the last thing. If it's not, I'll come back and do another video. But the last thing I forgot to mention, this actually happened in the month of, I believe, July or August. So around this time in July and August, I'm interpreting my dreams. I come across a video on YouTube. It's about dream interpretation. And I just decided to watch the video. So I watched the video, and the guy said something that really hit me. He said that God speaks to the dreamer in the language of the dreamer. So he gave an example. He says, if someone loves dogs, right? If someone loves dogs and they have a dream of them, playing with the dog, that could be God telling them that a companion is coming their way, or like a new relationship, a new friendship is coming their way. But if a person's afraid of dogs and they have a dream of them, running away from a dog, that can mean that they are running away from their fears. There's something they're afraid of. Y'all, once I watched that video, my dream interpretation skills went to the next level. So that was something I forgot to mention. It really did help me. And that is something that it really is true. God does speak to us in our language, in our dreams. So yeah, I just thought I had to mention that. So in the next episode, y'all, I am going to talk about the month of November. If you can recall, last episode, I talked about how I was waiting for the rental assistance and my rent was going to be due in the month of November. So I'm going to talk about that. And there were some other things I learned about Brandon and Caitlin, y'all, in the month of November. So I'm going to cover that as well. And so that's it. If you're liking an Unlikely Story, please like, comment, subscribe. Please also click the notification bell as well. And until next time.